Hey, hello, and welcome or welcome back. And as you saw in the title, we're gonna make a Diablo 2 like game. Not, we're not trying to clone Diablo 2 exactly. It's just gonna be that style of game. Okay. And this is part one of what's gonna be many, because there's a lot that's gonna be that's involved in this. You know, so there's gonna be a lot of parts to this. And for this first one, uh, we're going to just focus on character selection. Okay. So we have a new project here, and it's URP, and I'm using Unity 6. You can see up here. And I've created two levels. This one, which is called Character Select, and I've got six placeholders here for characters. All right, we've got an archer in the gold color, dark knight in the black color, a white knight in the white color, sorceress in the blue color, thief in the green color, and a rogue in the red color. Okay, and that's these guys here. And I would highly suggest just putting placeholders like this in here for now if you're going to follow along like I did. And that way, you don't waste a lot of time modeling or finding models if, you give up on it quickly. So, yeah, just throw some placeholders in there like this and give them each a different material like I did. And like, say, the Dark Knight here, I gave each a cube so you could see the forward facing direction. Okay. And the blue arrow is the forward facing direction. And they all have the kind of eye thing there so you can see which way they're facing. And each one of these has a script on it, okay, which is the character select script. And let's check that out real quick. All right, so it's one script for all right, and what it's going to do is I create a public int called class, okay, and right here is what the int numbers represent. Okay, so class 1, int 1 would be the Dark Knight, int 2 would be the White Knight, and so on. Okay, all the way down to 6 is the Rogue. And I made it public so that we can change the int in the inspector for each. So each one is already set. Go back and see. Like the Archer, he's already set to 3. The Dark Knight, his class is set to 1. The White Knight, his class is set to 2. So I gave them all classes corresponding to this right here. Dark Knight 1, White Knight 2, and so on. And then we're using TMP Pro, and I create a public TMP text called highlighted, and a private audio source, which is on each of them, called SND sound. In the start method, I set sound equal to get component audio source. So each of them have an audio source component on them, and that's what each of them is getting right here. And then we've got a private void on mouse over. Okay, and this is when highlighted comes in, the TMP text highlighted. Okay. Now we start by playing a sound on their audio source. Okay. This is like a highlighted sound. And then it checks to see if the class equals 1, then the highlighted text equals Dark Knight. Class 2, highlighted text equals White Knight, and so on down the list. Okay, so it checks through all 6, and if that class equals that number, it's going to give the corresponding text to who it is. All right. And then on mouse exit, when the mouse is not on a character, we set it to saying nothing. Okay. And then we've got an on mouse down function. This will be to select the character. All right. But for now, let's just see what the highlighting does. And I added some music in there too, so there's like music in the background just for now. All right. Right now it says class, but if I go over like the Archer, Dark Knight, White Knight, can you hear that sound? Thief, and Rogue. And then I go off and it does nothing. Okay. So that's the highlighting showing you, in text form who this is. Um, Eventually, when I put models in of characters, you'll be able to see more clearly like a Dark Knight is like a dark knight in armor, and a White Knight is kind of a paladin, either gold or white kind of armor. We'll have a sorceress model. There'll be more evidence by looking at them, but especially now when we're using placeholders, we definitely need that text above, and that's what that does. So um, to get the text, just right click, go down to UI, and just, if you don't have a canvas already, just go to Text Mesh Pro and hit that, and it'll create a canvas and event system for you and add the text to it. And now the text, I clicked Alt on my keyboard while pressing the center, and it centered it for me. And then I went down into the text options and I set the alignment to center on, top and middle. And we'll just get rid of that class name right there because we don't need it. All right. And that's how you get the text out. All right. And then again, um, each class, you set the public int to its respective number, and then you drag in the highlighted text right here into each one. Or you could just highlight them all after you made them and then drag that in and it'll be on all of them. Okay, so each one now has the text to write the name and it's got a class number, okay, according to the code here. All right, so we got our private audio source, the text called highlighted, and the public int called class. All right, and then you set this number to who you've got. Now you don't have to use dark knights, white knights, you could put in whatever you want, but just make sure you put in the class that's correct to the number. Okay. Then again, you get the audio source, so you can play that sound on mouse over and set the text to the name. And then on mouse down, we're checking to see what the class is again. All right, so if I click on one of them, then it checks to see the class of that object. And if it's one, then we set the int class to that number in a player prefs. And eventually we're going to use something more unhackable or less hackable than player prefs, you know. But for now, it's going to do just to start us off. So we're using player prefs and we're setting an int in player prefs to save it as the class and then the number corresponding to who you clicked on. And after that, we are using scene management, Unity scene management, and we load the other level I made called start level. Okay. So, and what this is going to do here, I'll show you. Open reason start level. What it's going to do, all right, we have a player here, and it's just one of those guys you saw, and we're going to take its mesh renderer off, okay, and I gave it a script called load player, all right. Now in load player, we've got public game objects for all the characters, all right, and a private game object called player, all right. We set that private game object player to instantiate the correct model or prefab of which one we picked. So if we pick the Dark Knight in the selection screen, then it's going to check that. It's going to first we create an int called class chosen, and we set it equal to player prefs get int class. That's the class we saved over here once we picked. Okay. So we create this int variable class chosen, and we set it equal to the player prefs class int. And then we check to see if class chosen is equals, each number 1 through 6, then the player equals instantiate, and it's going to be the corresponding prefab. Okay, so let's just go back to the previous selection, and we hit play and try it out. And let's say we pick a sorceress. Now it loads that new level, and it loads the sorceress prefab in there. And the prefab that it loads in is not the one you see or click on, because those have a special code just for selection. So I created 6 more prefabs without that code and stuff, because they're going to have like player code on them when we make that. And so, like I said, that's all this is player selection we're on right now as part one. In the next one, in part two, we'll probably get them moving around by clicking on the ground and having them move to those positions, maybe with a nav mesh, so he has like can avoid obstacles, go around corners and stuff. And yeah, so let's just see it one more time with a different character. All right, so the Dark Knight, let's try him, and there we go. Now we got a Dark Knight down there instead of a sorceress. So in the next one, we're going to create a script for the actual player. All right, and attach the camera so it's kind of pointing down at him like the way it is now. And we'll get him moving around when you click using a nav mesh. And if there's time in the next one, maybe we'll start some UI stuff like the health and the mana and yeah. But for right now, as far as player selection goes, that's that. And we can select any of our 6 classes here. Do it one more time. Let's take a white knight this time. And there we go. Now we got a white knight. And maybe we'll make a main menu screen next time too. So that way you can either create a new character or load in the character you picked. And loading won't be as simple as it is now because I mean we're gonna have think prefs or saves for like experience and stuff, and eventually items once we put an inventory in this. So we'll have to save everything on the player when you stop playing, and then if you're loading your character, then we load all that stuff back up each time and keep playing. And yeah, That's it for character selection. We're going to have six to choose from. You can put whatever kinds of people you want in there. And again, I highly suggest using some kind of placeholder prefabs for now. And just show you that code again real quick. This is the character select. So, I mean, if you need to pause it and copy it, you can do that. And we'll go down a little more. We got the on mouse exit and the on mouse down. And then the load player. This is it right here so far. If you want to copy this, you can pause it and then copy it. And that's it for this one because we're trying to keep these as short as possible. So come back for the next one in part two, and we'll get them moving around, whoever we pick. All right, we'll do at least that. So yeah, until next time. Hope you enjoyed it, and peace out.